creating some sort of a block for me in my practice. So although like I grew up in a spiritual family, and when it comes to problems in my day-to-day life, I think it's managed well because of how I was taught to deal with it. However, if I'm honest, externally sometimes I might appear very calm, like I'm not reacting. However, when I'm looking at the news around the world, it is creating a strong internal response. In the sense that I am practicing what I have been taught or what I also seek to learn, but sometimes I read a news, not going to mention anything triggering, but something very violent, and there's like a sense of helplessness that consumes me. So I would not want to be indifferent to the suffering. At the same time, I would not want to be consumed internally. So, yeah, I wanted to understand from you, how do you experience?
Two things. It's going to be like this. It has always been, it will be like this, and later on also. Regardless of what any one of us does.
Okay.
So it's number one.
Okay.
If you look at history, you see, we think we live in a world of illusion and foolishness. This modern world of news and social media and all of that. Anybody with, if you just study history, study the history of the 20th century. Our senior most member in the Vedanta Society of New York is Bill, who is this month he'll be 102 years old. He was a bomber pilot in the, he was a navigator in a bomber in Second World War. He has seen the Second World War. He was there when the Vietnam War was fought, the Korean War was fought. All of this he has seen. At the end of his life, in late 90s, in his age, he saw COVID, and 3 times he got COVID. He's still suffering. In New York, where people 1/3 his age were dying. Now look at it from his perspective. What will he say about this world? So you must be joking, right? War, famine, injustice, all it, and it's there by design. You can't prevent it. There's a point to it. See, think about it this way. Who are you to do that? It's not your world. Whose is it? It's God's. Not one thing here is made by you. Not one thing here is owned by you, including your own body and mind and personality. Every power that you have got, the power to see and hear and think and feel, read, imagine, do stuff in the world, all of it, if you don't believe in God, you must admit it's given to you by nature. I'm speaking with a person who has got a very rapid disease called Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. Quick degeneration. She's a doctor. She was telling me that in the last few weeks, I'm losing my power of speaking. And my power to move the body is going away. She's not very old also. See, what we take for granted, the easiest of things. We think about big things in the world. I will change this or that. The easiest of things, the ability to raise one finger. This is also the grace of God, if you look at it in devotional language. Or it's entirely a power given by nature. At any moment, it belongs to nature, nature can take it away. If it seems unjust, no. It's not unjust. But this is very bad. If it's God, whether it's nature, if nature is impersonal force, whom will you blame? If God, we can blame God. If God exists, why such suffering is there? This is a typical question we ask. This is a very natural question. Throughout history, people have been asking. About nature, we can't ask that question. This is impersonal. Nature will say, I don't care. This is how I am. About God, there is a part of the Bible. It's called the story of Job. Job. J-O-B. So there, what happens is this. Job is a very devout person, religious, devout, devoted to God. Now Satan, he says, people love you, tells God, challenges God, people love you because of all the blessings they get. And your devotees, they don't really love you. They like you because you have given them the nice things. So God says, and he says, I will prove it to you. God says, prove it. So you show me one, who is your devotee? God says, here for example there is Job. And he is devout, he does all his prayers, he is a moral person, he is living with his children in his farm and everything. So Satan says, only because of all the prosperity and blessings you have given him, therefore he loves you. If you take them away, he will not love you anymore. God said, alright, you are free to test. So Satan goes and enemies come, invade his lands and spoil his farms, kill his servants. He has 10 children. All of them die in a storm. Like this. Everything is lost. His house is blown away and all of that. And he is shattered and weeping. And then he still prays to God. And he says those famous lines, one of the most famous lines in the Bible. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken. See the insight of that man. Immediately one would say, it's so unjust. Suddenly I have been praying to you and this is what you do. No. He knows every bit of whatever is here belongs to somebody else. He can call it in any moment and you have no right to complain. And he recognizes it. And on top of that, that God is a loving God. So we don't understand why a loving God would do such a thing. But what is he taking us to? Maybe he's taking us to something. From a Vedantic perspective, you can understand. You know what is the understanding of Vedantic perspective of this very imperfect and miserable world? It is through this that we will evolve to enlightenment. If it was not like this, we would have no interest in believing this. If it was very perfect, we would hang around here. Why need anything? No injustice, no disease, no death, no poverty, no lack. Everything is fine and peaceful, having a party. Then why even aspire for anything else? Nothing. If it was much worse than this, the suffering would be so intense we would not have any time to think of anything higher. So the human world has been designed in such a way, we are whipped by suffering and plagued by dissatisfaction at this. And yet there is scope, enough comfort and scope for our spiritual growth to attain enlightenment. You can think about it this way, but we don't really know the answer. Anyway, the story of Job is, it goes on that Satan goes back to God. God says, see, he loves me. Wow, people love you as long as their own skin is not touched. If his health is taken away, then and God says, you can test. You want to go and test? Just don't kill him. So Satan goes, and then his whole body, Job's body breaks out in sores, in weeping sores. There's a description. He's sitting there scratching his body with a broken piece of pottery. Devastated. Horrified. He doesn't know what has happened to him. It's not that he is calm. Oh, God has taken, it's fine. No, he's actually suffering. He's suffering. He's in terrible suffering. Physical, mental, emotional. Then his friends come. 3 of his friends come to console him. It's a beautiful description. They sit stunned at the enormity of this Job's suffering. They sit quietly. They don't know what to say to this man. Such great suffering. Then they start discussing. Why is there so much suffering? One of them says, suffering comes only, God is just. God gives suffering only to the wicked people. You must be a wicked fellow. He tells Job. You deserve this suffering. We may say karma, past karma, you deserve this suffering. Job weeps and says, I have tried my best to be good. I don't know what wicked thing I have done. And like this, there's a very nice discussion there of various theories of why people suffer. And then the answer comes from God himself. So that is the God's answer to Job. The answer is very peculiar. God appears as a great storm, whirlwind in front of Job, and says, look upon my power, the immensity of this universe which I have created. It is beyond your comprehension. All these great powers which I have tamed, it's shown as great beasts. I have tamed them. Humanity cannot survive without all this. All this I have done. Look upon my enormity and my power. So no explanation is given. So explanation only seems to be, it's utterly beyond our scope to understand. So this is, in fact, Carl Jung. I asked an expert on Carl Jung, but I have not read anything except little bits and pieces. Any full work of Carl Jung, what would you suggest? He said there are books, you ask AI now, he'll suggest something. But this person who is expert on Carl Jung, he said there's one classic which people don't read enough, which Carl Jung regarded as the peak of his writings, as his greatest accomplishment. A small book. And the name of the book is Answer to Job. Answer. He wrote it in a frenzy. He said, he writes so that he collapsed after writing it. So that is the peak of his, that's the book I'm reading now, that's why I'm giving you. And after I heard that, I purchased that book. Small book. Answer to Job. So this is the answer to, this is one answer to the problem of the problem you are asking. What do I do with this so much suffering? No, you must remain on the spiritual path and withstand all that suffering. Do whatever you can. But it will not solve. Nothing will be solved. Because the one who has created it wants it this way. You make everything perfect, you spoil it.
You need not make it perfect, but then are you not being insensitive?
Wait, so that's the second part of my answer. I'm still on the first part. The first part of your answer is, no, Job is not insensitive. He's very sensitive. He's suffering so much. He cries, weeps. He's not insensitive. He understands. After all, it's his own suffering. How can he be sensitive to it? Sri Ramakrishna was asked this question. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, it's there. Somebody asks him, if God exists, why is there so much suffering? He gives three answers. The first answer is the same answer that God gave Job. The first answer is, can we ever understand God? It's utterly beyond our comprehension. Now that seems to be an evasion of the answer. It's only when you read the Job story in the Bible you realize it's not an evasion of the answer. It's not a refusal to give an answer. Maybe that is the answer. It's utterly beyond our comprehension. Still it seems very bad. No. Our demands are unjust. Because if it is true that God exists, then the conception of God, it simply implies every atom here belongs to God. We cannot lift a finger without God's grace. We cannot think one thought also that people are suffering. This thought also comes to us by God's grace. Because that we have no capacity. We have nothing here. Or nature, if you don't like all this, then nature, you have to admit. If you are a materialist, you have to admit everything is given by nature. Alright. Who are you to dictate to nature that you can't have war, COVID, volcanic explosions? Who are you to dictate? So this is one part of the answer. The answer to ego. In short, the answer to Job. The incomprehensibility of God's power and the fact that everything belongs to God. Even my protest, why is God so unjust? That also is because of God. I have no power here. Nothing to say. You have to see the insight of Job. Those ancient people had this. The Lord had given, the Lord had taken. There is a similar story. King Solomon, King David, I think. One of his sons died. One of his sons was sick. It's an answer to the how do you deal with serious personal suffering, like loss of a child or something. The most serious suffering. So his son was very sick, and he wept and he prayed and he offered sacrifices to God and all that. Then his son finally died. When son died, next day he was in the court. He had put oil on his head. He came and sat in the court, started working. The ministers were taken aback. He said, Your Highness, all these days you were weeping and praying. Now your son is dead. But you seem very calm. He says, as long as the boy was alive, I prayed to God and hoped. There was some hope that he would spare me. Now that the boy is gone, I know that he will never again come to me. But one day I shall go to him. So I shall go on. His faith in God was not shaken. Notice in both the case of Job and this king. In our case, what happens? Just the opposite. The moment there's some shock comes, does God exist? That's because our faith is shallow. We are not deeply rooted in God. For them, God was the reality. For us, this material world is the reality. Society is the reality. Alright, so this is one part of the answer. The second part of the answer is this. If I am a spiritual person, if I am a good person, moral person, kind and loving and compassionate and sensitive person, then I must manifest it in times of trouble. Let me see what I can do. Maybe I cannot do anything about the war, but at least what I can do in my community, in my family, within the place where I work. Can I stand up for the truth? Can I take care of those who are suffering? Do what is in front of me. The serenity prayer of Ronald Niebuhr, that God give me the strength to change the things that I can change, to withstand the things which I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two.
What the Sangha stands for.
Atmano mokshartham jagatitaya. For your own enlightenment, but also always for the welfare of the world. You must make an attempt for the welfare of the world. Not that, as I said, Lord giveth, Lord taketh away. You cannot accomplish the welfare of the world without the grace of God. Through you, God will accomplish the welfare of the world, no doubt. If our heart is clean and I want only the welfare of others, many great things will be accomplished through you. Look at this ashram. Yes. So it is people, so in the leadership of the Swami and the people working with him, in surrendering to the Lord, nice things are being accomplished, and such things can happen again and again. But ultimately, we get straightened out through those efforts. They also help us in our spiritual evolution.